Hiya friends, Prepared Suburbanite back at ya. Hey, did you ever really wonder what the left thinks of Donald J. Trump? Well, I found an op-ed from the New York Times that truly explains exactly how they feel about Donald J. Trump. So stick around. Before I get started, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about the author of this op-ed and what he did to put this opinion piece together. I stumbled on it on my local TV station on their website, and I read it the first time and was in shock. But let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here. The fellow's name that wrote this is Thomas B. Edsall, and he is an opinion writer for the New York Times. And what he has done to put this thing together is he contacted a number of colleagues, folks that also work at the New York Times, folks that work at the Washington Post, folks that are in positions, scientific positions, professorships at some of the big left-leaning colleges and universities around. And he basically asked them, hey, give me your opinion about Donald J. Trump. And it's absolutely eye-opening. Let me just read a few of these comments. First comment, the highlight, comes from a fellow named Brian Klass. He's a political scientist at the University College of London. And he wrote an essay called The Case for Amplifying Trump's Insanity. So what he says is Trump is a 77-year-old racist, misogynist bigot who has been found liable for rape, who incited a deadly violent insurrection aimed at overturning a democratic election, who has committed mass fraud for personal enrichment, who's now facing 91 separate counts of felony criminal charges against him, and who has overtly discussed his authoritarian strategies for governing if he returns to power. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's it. The author, Thomas Edsall, went beyond that and asked a number of people. Well, let me go on with what Klass said, that Trump has Trump proposes delusional, unhinged plans for forest management and warns his supporters that Biden is going to lead us into World War II. Yeah, that's right. That's what Trump said. He said World War II. And that he wrongly claims that he defeated Barack Obama in 2016. So what he's trying to highlight here is a couple of missteps, mistaken phraseology, whatever, that Trump's engaged in over the millions and millions of words that he's uttered in the last few years. And they picked out two of these and decided to focus in on that as part of their vitriol. So what he's trying to allude to is that Trump is so deranged, that he is so unhinged, that he thinks he's going to fight World War II, and that he is so crazy and unhinged and out of touch that he thinks he beat Barack Obama in 2016. Well, to justify this, Edsall writes a little bit earlier on, just as a preface to this, that Trump is running against an 80-year-old with mainstream Democrat Party views and sometimes misspeaks or stumbles or trips. He didn't say stumbles, he said trips. So he's trying to say, you know, the current president can make these kind of crazy statements, and those are just misspeaks, and he falls down a lot, so those are just trips. And tripping over sandbags, tripping up the steps on Air Force One, you name it, he has done it. And then he does his little run to pretend that he's 25 years old instead of 180 years old, or I guess just 80 right now. So anyway, they go on, he goes on and interviews, gets email responses or possibly telephone calls in return from some of these folks that he's reached out to. Let's see. Robert J. Lifton wrote, "Our Witness to Malignant Normality." And he goes on to then get into a quote from a fellow named Craig Malkin, who is, a psychiatrist. And he wrote an article called "Pathological Narcissism and Politics, the Lethal Combination." So what he's done here, to go on, and then he reached out to a number of political folks. Senator Jack Reed, who's a Democrat, Senator Susan Collins from Maine, who's technically a Republican, but she's truly a rhino. She's no more a Republican, a conservative, than the man in the moon is. But they said kind of sort of nasty things. Susan Collins said, "I'm worried." So worried about Trump doing so well in the current election cycle. Then he goes on to talk to or get a response from the associate professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School named Leonard Glass. And Glass says that Trump is rageful, grandiose, vengeful, impulsive, devoid of empathy, boastful, inciting violence, and thin-skinned. He continues, "In adopting language that he cannot help knowing replicates that of Hitler, especially the references to opponents as vermin and the term poisoning the blood of our country. We have to wonder if he's crossed into new terrain." It goes on. They list a number of Trump quotes. And here's what Trump said to a group in Waco, Texas. "I am your warrior, I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. With you at my side, we will totally obliterate the deep state. We will banish the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists and Marxists. We will throw off the corrupt political class, and we will beat the Democrats. We will rout the fake news media. We will stand up to the rhinos. We will defeat Joe Biden and every single Democrat." And of course, that has been one of his rallying points throughout the last 3 years, where he's basically said the same thing and using a few different words here or there. But these folks on the left are taking this and saying that's how absolutely deranged he is, because he said those things. One more example here. Trump said, "We will immediately stop all the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store." So what they're accusing him of saying is that law enforcement, that he's going to authorize law enforcement to murder shoplifters. And that's what he says in this article. It's absolutely amazing. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. Now, I think it's safe to assume that none of the psychiatrists or professors of psychology or psychiatry at any of the leading universities and medical schools that this fella contacted actually sat down and did a thorough face-to-face assessment of Donald Trump, what he says, how he says it, anything like that. So no psychological profiles, no psychiatric profiles. They just are reacting to things that they've heard and seen on the internet, on the news, NBC News, MSNBC, CNN, you name it. That's where these folks are getting their information. I don't think I've ever seen an article that is so absolutely 100% biased in the wrong direction than this article that appeared, this op-ed that appeared in the New York Times, and that dutifully replayed on my local TV station as part of, on their website, not on TV, but on their website as an opinion editorial, an op-ed. It's absolutely disgusting what they've done here. They've accused us of being everything from rapists to violent insurgents to everything. Not a lick of proof anywhere that Trump has been convicted or charged with any kind of associated crime with January 6th. In fact, he did say march peacefully and patriotically, but that apparently has been forgotten by the left. I am just absolutely blown away, and I guess sort of thankful that the left can show itself in this manner and stand behind or stand on top of the First Amendment right to speak your opinion. So enshrined in our Constitution is everybody's right to do that, as it is mine to try to counter this nonsense that these folks are spewing. But if you're only getting your news from a single source, if you only go to Fox News, or if you only go to Newsmax, or One American News, you're going to hear very right-sided arguments about whatever Trump is doing, whatever Trump is saying, and that's kind of the way it is. Now, Fox is sort of a minor exception to that in my mind, but bottom line is they are not going to be supporting Joe Biden or any Democrat that's coming along. So if that's the only place that you're getting your news, Newsmax, One American News, Fox News, and some of the other minor, I guess, conservative news sites that are out there, and even some podcasts that are somewhat conservative, all you're gonna hear is what's going on the right-hand side of the aisle, and you're not going to ever hear what's going on and how they think on the left. Well, this article really opened my eyes to how hateful the left is toward Donald J. Trump. We've got an election coming up in less than a year, and we seem to have a very interesting choice to make, and we've been, I guess, somewhat laboring under the impression that our vote counts and our vote is going to make a difference. Well, it's the only tool we've got in our toolbox. We can either vote or not. And you can vote for the lesser of two evils. You can not vote for either one of them. You can get actively involved in your local political circles, join your political party, get active, canvassing the streets, doing whatever. knocking on doors, making phone calls, answering phone calls, selling merchandise, all that kind of stuff. But we've only got one tool in our toolbox, and that's our vote. Now, some folks are advocating that it's all rigged, that doesn't matter what you do. The political gamesmanship is really the thing that's driving this whole thing. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent on print advertising, on television advertising, on social media advertising, millions and millions of dollars that's being raised from corporations, from people, folks that have got a lot of money. And guess who is the beneficiary of a lot of that kind of money? It's our TV stations, it's our local media, it's social media. And what do they have a tendency to have in common? They all lean to the left. So what we're doing by funding all this nonsense is giving them more money to do all the dastardly things like they do in the New York Times with this op-ed. I don't know what to tell you. I know how I'm going to vote come next November. I don't know who's really going to be running, but I'll never vote for a Democrat in my life, never have and never will. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always and watch your back, because they're coming for you.